idea of providing outstanding customer service for your clients with doing great things for the community are not mutually exclusive. It's time for us to change the way that we think about business. Today, I believe there's a fundamental miss that's happening. The big miss is that there's so much talent that's resident in a lot of communities around the country that have historically been overlooked. We started Chime with the intention of tapping into that talent pool and bring it to the forefront so that everybody can get benefit of it. That means companies get better because we're serving them, because we're giving these folks a chance to be all that they can be. You know, communities get better because the jobs are there and folks are feeling good about the work that they're doing. Families get stronger. This is what Chime is all about. Chime is a premier provider of business process outsourcing services, and we do that on behalf of a number of Fortune 500 companies. One of the primary focuses of this model within Chime is to address the issue with economic mobility. By creating opportunities in under-resourced communities, we leverage the talents that have traditionally been left behind. So what we've seen as an industry lately, the barriers or the differences between doing work domestically, the difference between that and what happens offshore, the gap is shrinking. So just imagine the 1,000 seats of work that you have in a community offshore even, and the impact that your company could have if you put those 1,000 jobs in a community here in the US, and you can do it on the same economic basis or similar economic basis as the outsourcing across the globe. Our goal is to create 10,000 jobs by the end of 2020. And by leveraging the multiplier effect, when Chime hires one person, that hire results in 2.5 jobs in the community. If we're to create 10,000 jobs, 2.5 to 3 times that would be 25,000 or 30,000 jobs. So if you are a company today that outsources work at any level, outsource that work with purpose, because it's time to change. It's time to change the future of lives. It's time to change the future of communities. It's time to change the future of business.
Hey guys, so it's Juanita Coley here. You guys already know that I am doing my Mr. Corporate America tour in conjunction with also touring contact centers and just looking at the best and brightest contact centers, things that are innovative. We're talking about the future of work. We're talking about women in tech, what that looks like. And so I have an amazing treat for you guys this week. Okay, you see this smile? It's authentic, okay? Because my jaws are already hurting. I've only been talking to this man, Mark Wilson, the man, the myth, the legend, okay, for a couple minutes, and I cannot stop smiling, and it's amazing. So without further ado, let's just hop right into the interview. Mark, thank you so much for having me, hosting me. I've just did a little bit of tour. I can't wait to do a full tour, but I've only did a little bit of the tour, and I'm just amazed at what you've built and all of the different art and different things that are on the wall about people first and passion around people, you know, being a people company and all of those different things. Tell me about your journey to being a CEO here at Chime and just your whole entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for taking the time to come and chat with me about what we've done here. I love the opportunity to do that because I think there's definitely a need to kind of highlight things that are being done, particularly in the African American business community. And I think my role is to try to inspire and give whatever it is that I have from an experience standpoint back to those that are aspiring to have their own business. And so I appreciate the opportunity to kind of chat with you today. But our story really goes back to my days when I first started working corporately with Dun & Bradstreet. Actually, it goes back further than that, if you really want to understand.
I really want to understand.
You know, why I say that is I think who I am as a person is grounded in how I was raised and where I grew up, which was really modest. I mean, I'm from Fort Smith, Arkansas. I grew up in the housing projects of Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Wow.
And I left there to go to school in Ohio at Wilberforce, the nation's oldest historically privately held black college.
What was it? What's the school?
It's Wilberforce University in Wilberforce, Ohio. So I left Arkansas, Fort Smith, Arkansas, where I was born and raised, to go to school there. But everything that happened foundationally for me growing up in Fort Smith still applies to my life today, you know, including the first company that I founded, and that humility and the unselfish concern for the well-being of others, with the definition of altruism, that's what that is, has been with me throughout my whole journey. And so that's where things really got started.
Yeah.
But in a real way, as an entrepreneur, my first opportunity came on the heels of me working for Dun & Bradstreet for a number of years. I was there for, you know, upwards of 20 years. And the first, one of the biggest assignments I had, not the first, but one of the biggest assignments I had was to turn around a call center in Greensboro, North Carolina. And once I got that assignment, I had the opportunity to turn it around. And there was a lot of folks that worked in that call center that deserved an opportunity to be the best that they could be and to reach their full potential. And the environment wasn't conducive to that when I went there. So we just tried a bunch of things in a very old, established, you know, very conservative Dun & Bradstreet environment.
Yep.
I was able to try some things very creatively and more cultural based for the people that worked there, which were mostly African American women. And that success kind of lit a fire with me that if I ever had a chance to be in business for myself to kind of further what the success that I was able to get done there, then I would absolutely go for it. So, and
what were some of those things you tried? I'm interested to know now.
Yeah.
Like, what were some of those things that you were like, I want to implement this?
Yeah, well, I mean, the very first thing that I did, and I don't know where the instincts for this came about. I mean, I had a mentor in the business, his name is Tal Phillips, who taught me something about people and connecting with people, and that, you know, you really have to personalize your relationship with people, no matter what part of the organization they're in. And I kind of, you know, kept that with me for, you know, to start my management career. But the first thing that I did when I went into that center in Greensboro was that I did nothing related to business for like a couple of weeks. There was maybe a couple of hundred people that worked in the center. And all I did for the first couple of weeks was to set up one-on-one conversations with every person that worked there.
Wow. To
introduce myself to them personally so that they could understand that they were somebody that was important to whatever we were going to do. And that was that project of, I'm gonna call it a project, that step that I took to introduce myself in a personal way to everybody in the center just changed everything. Yeah. So I was on a path from those first 2 weeks to be successful because the people there thought that they were important enough for my first action to be them, focused on them. And so we just built on it. I mean, I did stuff like, you know, a lot of the folks there hadn't traveled very much and hadn't done very much leaving out of Greensboro. And so I remember Dun & Bradstreet's headquarters were in Murray Hill, New Jersey. And it was real stodgy, 150-year-old company, not very diverse. And we had all of these single moms. We made arrangements for the kids to get cared for. We rented a couple of buses, and we took as many people as we could on a bus trip from North Carolina to New Jersey.
Wow.
And we introduced those folks that worked into the center into a corporate setting in Dun & Bradstreet. And just, you know, changing people's perspective on what the world offers, and particularly in work, what they could do if they were to apply themselves. And so, you know, stuff like that we did.
That's amazing. It reminds me of, and I can't recall the author at this time, but The First 90 Days. A lot of people know of that book, but it talks about the first 90 days, being a leader in the company. What are some of the steps and things that you should take? And it sounds like you nailed that with your first 90 days in Dun & Bradstreet.
Yeah, I just try to keep it simple and focused on the people, and I've carried that throughout all of my business enterprises. And, you know, and for all of our leadership, they understand that if we're to be successful, it's going to be because of the people that work there and because of the investment of time and energy, resource that we give to them. And so I've never sort of wavered from that. That's been the hallmark, the focal point, if you will, of every business that I've had a chance to be a part of.
And you can see that in the hallways here, even here, when you're talking about, passion for people, and on the website, transforming people, impacting lives, and different things like that. That's still a core staple here, at Chime Solutions. It
is. I mean, we have something here called Total Life, and Total Life is really focused on having an understanding of a person's total life. And us as a business, based on that understanding, doing things with intention that impacts their total life. So to the extent that we're successful with that, then we're going to have more loyal and more dedicated folks that work in the company, because it's, for everybody, it's what's in it for me. And so we've tried to, identify those things that, that are important in people's lives, and have programs and do programmatic things that support a total life approach to the people that work in a company.
Yeah. So in true series form about, we're talking about the future of work, we're talking about women in technology. How do you think, contact center plays a future in work? How do you think, what do you think the future of work looks like? So it's a double-edged question, right? What does the future of work look like? How does contact center play a role in the future of work, and whatever other nuggets you got for me around future.
And women, I think you said something about women.
We're talking about women in technology in the future of work.
Well, I mean, it's just, I don't know if it's ironic or coincidental or divine.
It's divine. It's divine.
And I actually believe that. I don't believe necessarily in consequence, and I think everything is divinely ordered. And but I say that because just today, starting today, really, everything got kind of consummated on yesterday. But so maybe I'll just tell a background story. So in the contact center world, what we struggle with has to do with people staying on the job with attrition, people coming to work every day with day-to-day shrinkage is what we call that, absenteeism or whatever. And so as a company, we've been trying to find a solution for that. What is it we can do that really with intention gets at trying to solve that problem around people at work? COVID has absolutely exacerbated that, how people think about work and all of that. And it's really all about flexibility now, is what we have learned with, how people think about work. And I think that is the future of work.
That is
how do you develop a flexible approach to employing people and allowing them to work flexibly that still meets the need of you and your customers, but also is accommodating to folks' lifestyle and just the way that people think about work today. So us understanding that flexibility is important, and us trying to solve the issue around attrition and daily shrinkage, started trying to figure it out. And so I came up with this idea that, what if we were to have an approach toward work that when a person doesn't come to work, that there are, for the folks that are in the gig economy that are interested in working, that we have a resource base of those folks, so that when a full-time person doesn't come to work, that we could notify the people that are gig-minded, that are trained to do the work just in time. So that idea started to take shape, and we said, okay, let's build some software. So build this software, and the software was used to that if a person doesn't come to work, and we need to have some folks that are to fulfill the work, we would put the work, those hours, in the app. And the app would then notify the cohort. And we started with HBCUs too. We started with colleges and trained these college students on 2 particular accounts. So a person full-time doesn't come to work, their hours get put into the app. The app notifies the cohort of students that are trained on this project. They then log in and can do the work remotely. Perfect solution to solving the whole issue with daily shrinkage. And what goes with that. Which, by the way, the real exciting part about the person who's leading this effort in our company is my daughter. So you're talking about women in tech and whatever. Just really,
this is amazing.
Relying on her intuition about what the product needed and the connection with the students and the gig economy minded person, all that she's perfect for. So she's the person leading this effort within our company.
And what's your daughter's name?
Lauren.
Okay.
Lauren Wilson. And so she continued to build it out, and then it started to come to me with different variations and different ideas of how this could even apply to the full-time workforce. So if you know, in the contact center world, the way things are traditionally around the schedule is that, a customer will give you a set of hours, you put it into a workforce management tool.
Yeah.
That tool gives you full-time schedules, static schedules that people have to work. And so if you think about it, what's happening today, you give a person a full-time static schedule, and 15% of the time they don't come to work, or they turn over. So the static schedules for us, for full-time people, wasn't working. So what Lauren decided to approach the software that was developed with was to say, okay, why don't we not only make the software available to this part-time gig folks, gig-minded folks, to fill in for the people that are not here, let's make it available to the full-time workforce. And that now, instead of a traditional schedule, let's have the tool build the schedules, but let's put all the hours in the app.
And you can select.
And yes, and we let the full-time person on each Sunday, they log in and first come, first serve, and they build their schedule for the week flexibly according to what's good for them this week, future of work.
Yes.
And just really tying into the flexibility of things and using the software in a variety of ways that really lends to people staying with us and sticking with us, developing expertise, and solving all of the traditional problems that you have in the call center world. It is going to completely disrupt the call center world.
Yeah.
Going to completely disrupt it. So Lauren's been building all of that out, and so what we decided is that that product deserved an effort, an entity of its own. So we've officially spun that out as a separate entity, and Lauren is the CEO of what we're calling I'm In. So it's, so you if you think about it, I'm in.
Yeah. No, I got it when you first said it. Yeah.
Right. So she now is the CEO for I'm In, and has raised the first round of capital. She was successful in raising $1 million in seed capital from a fund here local to Atlanta called Collab Capital, which another African American tech successful exited tech entrepreneur in Jewel Solomon Burks, who leads. She's got a couple of other partners over there with Collab. And those guys invested in Lauren's business, I'm In now, and it's officially launched. And now out, Chime is going to be the first real customer for her. And so she's now going to go out in the call center world and market the I'm In software, to companies like ours to help them solve the same problem that we have right now. So the future of work.
Where's Lauren at? This is amazing. Where Lauren, this is, so, okay. So, I love women in tech,
Yes.
so, okay, I'm super ecstatic about this because I think this does a couple things, right? So, I think, this ushers us into the future of work, right? When we talk about, again, like you said, this is a total disruptor for a contact center.
Yes.
Right? To be able to, when we talk about agent experience, we talk about employee experience, customer experience. When we talk about those things, we have to talk about it from a holistic, which is why I loved your point about the total person.
Yeah.
That total person who has school or who's taking care of their family member, or who's doing whatever they have to do. They still have life, but they still have work. And to be able to go on an app and say, I can work these hours at these times and still give my best when I'm there, but when I'm not there, I'm doing whatever I need to be doing. that's the future of work.
It is.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that is also amazing is that Lauren gets to work with her dad as the first customer
Yes.
of I'm in.
Yes.
And be able to continue, the legacy of entrepreneurship. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm super proud of her, and how smart she is about how she's thinking about her company and this new software. So super proud as a girl dad. But more than that, just as a business person, being able to lend some of whatever experience I've had as an entrepreneur to another business person and an African-American female woman who happens to be my daughter, is just over the top exciting for me. So I think I'm looking for I'm in to be a unicorn. I really believe it has that kind of potential.
Yeah.
I'm versed and experienced call center operator. I know the problems that we have. At the center and core of all the problems we have are these things that have to do with people and how their work and how they can work and how flexible that can be for them. And so to have a way to facilitate that through software, it was great for us as a business, and I know it's going to have the same application for people that do the same thing that we do as a business.
One question that I have for you now, thinking through some of the things that you said, when we talk about D&I is a huge conversation right now. It's always been, I think, a conversation that's been floating around. But now I think it's becoming more of a corporate conversation around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when I think about that in terms of the future of work, I'm always wondering, where does that have a place in the future of work? Where does it have a place in technology? Do you think that with your experience of being an operator in a contact center space, or Lauren being an African-American female, that has a impact on the software that's been developed with I'm In, or also how you run Chime Solutions?
I think the answer to that is Lauren's perspective and my influence on that perspective culturally can have something to do with how the app is designed and for the things that it cares for, right? If you have that experience and mindset of the challenge that people have, and you're building a solution around it, it's going to be more in tune to it. Is how I think that DE&I comes into play in a situation like this. It's all about, the demographic of the people that work in our company and having a full understanding and appreciation for the challenge that is their life day to day, and developing a solution around it is what this thing is all about.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's an important question that you asked, because I think we box DE&I into, did you hire a certain number of people, and those sorts of things, which are all important metrics. But at the end of the day, what we got to do is be focused on impact.
Yes.
Impact to people's lives. And to the extent that you impact people's lives in a positive way, the domino effect of that is ridiculous. You start to generationally provide an opportunity for those that are to come later, because you've provided a platform for a person to be all that they can be and have some degree of success that they then get to pass down. And we break some of these generational, challenges that we have as a society around people staying in the same place, because generally what happens for one generation, if that doesn't change, it doesn't change for the next.
Right.
So we got to change here so that the next changes, and it just gets bigger and bigger and better and better. I mean, my kids, I think, are a classic example of this. If I stayed in the environment that I grew up in, there's a less likelihood of a chance that they would be in the position that they're in now. Now, I want to be clear. I'm taking zero credit for how talented my children are. Between Lauren and what she's doing here, and my son Ryan, who's the CEO of the Gathering Spot, which has been a tremendously successful community building, focused organization on African American primarily professionals in a private membership environment. Both of them are smart and in their own right great entrepreneurs. So I'm not trying to infringe on or take any credit for that other than being their father. But I do believe my circumstance, being what it has been, has put them in a better place to be exposed to things that will allow them to be as their full selves and for their talent to really flourish. And I think that we have to be more intentional, those of us that have had any degree of success, with making sure that those that follow us get exposed to it.
That's so good, Mark. I want to kind of shift a little bit to talk about you as a CEO personally, and from a personal perspective, for them to be the product of what, like you say, I just think it's so phenomenal that they are direct correlation or direct derivative of the things that you've seen, you've experienced, and all of those different things. How was that raising, because I think about myself being a mother of 3 girls. I have 3 children. Mm-hmm. How was it raising them and getting them to this place, and the hours that you put in being an entrepreneur and things like that?
They were really hard to manage as kids. No, I'm joking. My wife, Shelly, and I, which my wife is my business partner, too, she's been in all of this with me, so she definitely deserves credit for the success of our business, but more importantly, the success of our children, because the time and the attention that was required to make sure that they got what they needed in terms of support while in school, mm-hmm. She was unrelenting on making sure that she was available to them. I don't want to say that I wasn't, because I never tried to miss anything, but doing homework and the reading of the papers and really collaborating with the kids while they were in school, that was the role that my wife played in the upbringing of our children. And I think that educational foundation has been really what's facilitated their being who they are as people, because they're both really good people. They care about others, and yeah, that's probably the proudest thing for Shelly and I, is that they're good people.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I think the educational approach that we took as a family, and that Shelly actually led for us as a family, has been at the center of why they've been and are successful. Because they study, and they know how to study, and they know the importance of studying, whatever it is, whether it be school or it's been in business or whatever. Reading and understanding and taking an interest and being thoughtful is a part of how they go about life, mm-hmm. right? So, and I think that's a result of what happened while we were raising them and while Shelly was leading that part of them coming up as kids.
Do you ever, during the course of entrepreneurship and your entrepreneurial journey, was there ever a time where you felt like, man, I'm doing all of this and you're maybe not getting the result that you want, or it just was a struggle, or how did you deal with that?
Yeah, like right now.
And so it's a continual thing.
It is. If you choose the entrepreneurial path, what everybody should know is that it's not for everybody. Because it does take a huge amount of resilience, because there's so many defeats and setbacks and no's in it, that if you don't have a resilient soul, it's hard for you to be successful as an entrepreneur. Mm. And so, I jokingly say now, but it is now. And if you're not in a place where you can see challenge in your business, then you're probably not growing, and you're not doing things that bring innovation to keep you ahead of the curve. I just recently, just in the last few days, there's a real simple read called "Who Moved My Cheese?" And I made my I asked my leadership team to read Who Moved My Cheese, because it's a story about change and about if you keep going, after the same cheese and then that cheese is gone, you got to figure out where the new cheese is the whole moral of the story. But I gave that assignment to my team because I need to have them continually thinking about the next thing. How do we separate ourselves? How do we get ourselves to a place where, for some of the challenges that we have in our business, this is probably the most difficult labor market that we've ever had since I've been in business, with COVID and how people think, and talk to your theme of the future of work. If we don't chase new cheese around flexibility and how it is that we, accommodate what people are demanding now, and then we'll fail. We'll become extinct.
Yeah.
Competition will pass us by.
Do you see when we go back to that challenge of the labor market, you have a physical center, right? Are you doing hybrid and on-site, or remote and on-site, and how has that been with the pandemic? Yeah,
right now most people are home. 98% of the folks, we've been able to transition to a work from home environment. But culture, our success is largely predicated on our ability to promote culture and people connecting and all of that. So we've had to do things in a remote way to try to overcome that, but nothing replaces being together. So we are going to move to more of a hybrid and start to bring people back into the office and have some people still work at home. We'll try to do that in a way that's fair and recognizes the merit of people and how they've performed and their ability to earn the right to stay at home versus those that we bring into the office. Not that coming into the office is punitive, it's just that we can't allow everybody to work from home, so there's got to be some kind of way to, to figure out how we, fairly let people stay in that environment and which ones come into the office. Short answer to your question is that at some point we are going to be in a hybrid.
You guys are really big on culture here. I'm interested to know, with the pandemic and moving, 98% of your staff work at home, how did you keep culture at the forefront?
Yeah, it's work. You have to do things, and we always try to keep up with things. I mean, a good example, all of us are familiar with Versus, right? The Versus, so we did our own interpretation or edition of Versus.
Oh, man,
so it would be it'd be my playlist against one of the other senior leaders' playlists, and everybody coming online to see who was going to win or whatever. So we tried to do culturally relevant things, within with our own spin on it. We had workout classes for moms and their kids online, cooking classes, with just a lot of things that we tried to do in a virtual environment, just to kind of keep our culture.
I want to know what was on your playlist now. Now I want to know what was on your playlist.
It's hard to beat my playlist. Everybody, I think I haven't gone down yet, so.
Wow, so you win the Versus every time?
I won the ones that I've been in. I've won.
I gotta get this playlist now. I gotta get the playlist. So tell me, what's next for Chime?
Well, we went out a few years ago and tried to, and did establish a goal of creating 10,000 jobs, and then COVID came and that kind of slowed things down a little bit. But we're true to that. We want to try to create as many jobs as we can around the U.S. on this model of putting our footprint in underserved communities where there's a lot of talent and where there are folks that deserve the chance to be all that they can be, and have that be, leveraged into a successful relationship that we have at Chime with our customers. And so we're going to stay after that. And I really don't want to place a ceiling on it. Because the mission is so pure, and it at the center of it is people winning. Everybody, customers, us, the folks that work for us. So we just want to kind of keep that going and see how far we can take it.
You say something on the website. On the website it says that you guys have a mission to make each customer interaction better. in the world, or make customer interactions better and the world better at the same time.
Yeah.
What's the secret to that? Like, how do you do both at the same time?
So if the intention of putting the center, like this center is in Clayton County, South Atlanta, one of the highest unemployment areas, not a lot of industry, old abandoned shopping mall. We're in an old JCPenney's. You invest in it, refurbish it, put 1,500 jobs in the environment, and give those folks who have talent a chance to progress and live up to that talent level, talent potential that they have. You have in fact done both of those, because the community benefits. There's more money that's been pumped in. Every store that's in the mall is benefiting by 1,500 people here with gainful jobs that are gainfully employed, shopping there. And the people that are working here are being enriched by the programs that we have for each of them, by the experience that they're gaining for the job that they have. You're getting both things done.
You do both, yeah. Part of what makes Chime Solutions so intriguing and I think impactful for me is, I'm not sure if you know my story or not, but I started as a phone rep, a call center rep, as a customer service rep in a call center. And I was a teen mom. I picked up a book. It was a book that was just laying on the desk in the contact center at the time. It was called Blue Pumpkin, and it was really a user manual for the workforce management solution.
Sure, I remember Blue Pumpkin.
That powered the contact center. And so I started to read the book, and I was like, I think I can do this thing. I didn't know what I was talking about. I just was like, this is intriguing to me, a piece of technology that pretty much powers the contact center. Count me in. And that really just kind of changed the trajectory of my life. Fast forward, now I'm known as the contact center whisperer, or that WFM girl. I love workforce management. And so when we talk about making customer interactions better and the world better at the same time, that really kind of sticks out to me, because I think about my journey throughout the contact center. And starting in a contact center and where it has led me from a career, and even now a CEO of my own contact center consulting firm, like it's just full circle for me. So this is, I think, really impactful what you're doing here. Yeah,
thank you for that, man. I think the team is committed. We haven't sort of wavered at all from, the things that we're trying to get done here. Even in the middle of a pandemic, we still have to be true to what we're trying to do, and it's worked out. It's working. A lot of people are benefiting because of it. Our customers are winning. We continue to grow our customer base because of it, and we're just going to stay focused.
What is one thing that you always, I love to ask this question, what is one thing that you always wish people would ask you as a leader that they never ask?
I don't know. I think a lot of times, a lot of the interviews that I get are mostly focused on business and what happened in the business or whatever. But, how has this affected you as a person? Like, what is the impact? What is it really like, as a person being an entrepreneur? And I think that's probably it, because the answer would be, in a lot of cases, it can be lonely, right? And I don't ever remember talking about being lonely in any interview. So that, I don't think people are asking me this question. So I would tell you that it can be a lonely existence, because you're out trying to lead folks, and a lot of times you have to do that with passion that people don't like. You have to make decisions that are not necessarily the most popular. You have decisions that are being made that you can't really talk to other folks about. I'm a little bit different in that my wife and my partner is a partner in the business, and so we get to talk about a lot of things. But I also know her, and I respect the boundaries that we have for our family, and to try to not have this be all-consuming to all aspects of our family, which it's hard for that not to happen when we both are going to work at the same place and trying to work toward the same goal. But there are things about the business that I'm responsible for that I don't want to share the burden of that with her, because I don't want her to, I want to just shoulder it and solve it and not have her have to worry about it. Over the years, having access to capital and, trying to make payroll and, working capital needs of the business, they are a lot.
Yeah.
And because I know my wife and I know the way she might internalize and worry about things, I wouldn't want to share a lot of that with her. And so in that regard, a lot of the times for the things that I was trying to solve for in our business call for a lonely existence. So, I can't imagine those CEOs who do not have their partner in their business and that their partners don't have a deep understanding of everything that's going on in their business day to day, that they have to be, in a lot of situations, very lonely.
Yeah. How do you deal with building something that you have this massive vision and you're alone, but you're doing it for other people? You're doing it, for reasons that benefit or impact other people, but you feel alone.
I mean, there's a couple of ways to deal with it, and I've chose more of the path of just understanding that it comes with the territory and powering through it. Just having a deep and abiding faith in God, and and making sure that I'm keeping myself connected to where everything, the source of everything, is help for me, because you don't have to be completely lonely if you trust God and you pray, and which I do. I get comfort and help through a lot of the challenges that way. But there's also networking groups and groups that you can be a part of where there are other CEOs that you can share some of your thoughts and problems, concerns with, that were like-minded folks and that have like challenges, are there and that you can talk to. So that's another path. I more chose to pray and to and be obedient for what I've been led and heard to what I've been led to do. I try to pay attention to that and be obedient, and and then some of the stuff I do share with my wife. Again, I'm in a privileged place to have that as a resource, but there's some things that I don't want to have her have to worry about, and it's enough for me to worry about them.
Right.
And I say worry. I don't try to worry. To think about, be concerned about, have to figure out.
Figure out the answer, solution for.
Yeah. I'm a person that's really optimistic. I always feel like it's going to get done.
Yeah.
I'm not the person that it's not going to get done.
Yeah.
I just have to figure it out. You just got to spend more time in it and figure out how to get it done. That's how I think about stuff, so.
Yeah, I like to say that there aren't problems, there are solutions that are not discovered yet. Mm-hmm. That's my optimistic way.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to look at it.
So what was for you that aha moment from the time you got all of this revelatory, you got all this experience from Duns and Bradstreet to now running Chime? What was that aha moment like? Oh, I'm gonna go and do this.
It was real clear for me when I got the Greensboro assignment, and I went in and I could see the impact that I could have through a leadership position on people. I thought, wow, if I could do this in my own business at some point, I'd love for that to be the case, because I felt so good about the difference that we made over that I felt like we made over there with a lot of people. And as fate would have it, it was shortly thereafter that Dun & Bradstreet made the decision that they were going to outsource the work that had been done internally. Wow. And I knew that senior person was my mentor, Tal Phillips. I just went to him and I said, Tal, listen, I know this work better than anybody else in the company. What if I started a company and help you guys take a step into the outsource world, and y'all could give me a little bit of that work? They had chose IBM, by the way, as the company that they were going to outsource the work to offshore. but they cut a little piece of that off for me. And I like to tell the story.
Wow.
The first contract that I got from Dun & Bradstreet was a $25,000 contract. And it was to make outbound phone calls to collect data. So I didn't have a call center, no infrastructure. They had faith in me on that small piece of business. It was a test, really, that I would be able to, get the infrastructure in place to do it. So I partnered with a call center out in Houston. One of my friends introduced me to the center out in Houston, and went to them, and I fulfilled my contract with their infrastructure. I taught them how to do whatever with my experience in their infrastructure, and we fulfilled that $25,000 contract, and it led to more work from D&B. And then to the point where I had enough work to where I felt like, okay, I'm going to go out and raise some capital and do this on my own and not be dependent upon the center that I was kind of outsourcing the work to in Houston. And that's what we did. We raised our first round of seed capital from Sustainable Jobs Fund out of North Carolina, $1 million. And I opened the first center here in Atlanta, and we were off to the races. So that's how that happened.
That was so good.
Yeah.
During that process, like, I gotta know now, like, so during that process, like, you got the 25,000, you went in, okay, I got this 25, I'm gonna go over here, outsource this, use this. Then you said, okay, it brought more work in, all of those different things. During that process to saying, okay, now I'm gonna do this, did you ever have any moments where it's like, I can't, it's too much, it's too many moving balls, it's too much going on, I can't do this?
I can't even count how many of those moments that I had. There's a lot of them where there's just like, there's no way to solve for this. There's no way I'm going to overcome this. I don't know how, I don't know which way to go. But, that's what I said earlier, that being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. Because in all of those moments, I had to have the resilience to say, I got to figure this out. It's too important. It's too good of an opportunity. There is a way. And between that and having, real faith, and, folks
you gotta have real,
Yeah, folks talk about,
talk about that, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I say, it's
that's
easy.
Like walk on water, like this.
I'm going to say, people say stuff about, having faith and all that, and they say it, but it's a difference between saying it and really having faith.
Sitting in it and living with it, like day in and day out, and actually having to show up and do the work.
I will tell you, there are so many things that over the course of my entrepreneurial career that I can go back and I can say, there's no earthly reason why this happened.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have happened, right? And so you can say, oh, you got lucky, and people explain things away that way. And, I say
it was God. I just flat out say, listen, there's no way you can take a 14-year-old, because I was pregnant by the time I was 14, working in a contact center, like no formal training, and get this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was just, like, I didn't plan that. It was God. So I always love to ask this question of other people, like, what were those moments that made you keep powering through and say, I can't stop now.
Yeah.
I'm too far out here now, to give up. What makes you keep going?
Well, I mean, I think this is a key point about being an entrepreneur, that there has to be something that evokes passion for you as a person, because there's too many things that happen, too many give up moments, as your question was about, that if you don't have passion about it, you will give up and you won't think that it can work out. So you got to have, I think, connection to why it is that you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. And for me, trying to blaze a path for people who I know are talented and to provide them an opportunity through our platform and the relationship that we have with our customers, I feel deeply passionate about. And so it's easy for me to keep going once I keep focused on that. and focus on the good that I know that we're doing. You know, I see people, there's so many examples of folks that work in our environment that I know that this has been instrumental in the success that they're experiencing in life right now. And that's enough to fuel, you know, a passion to continue. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, Mark. Well, this is like, when I say it's been an amazing time sitting here with you, just, you know, this has been a different type of interview actually from all the interviews that I've done. Usually, like you said, you know, typically they're about business. They're specifically about whatever the topic is, but I don't think I've taken the time to dig into, you know, Lauren and Ryan before, like, you know, other CEOs' personal life. And I think I did that because it just kind of resonated to see that, you know, you're here, but you've also built legacy as well as a part of the future of work, you know. And so that was really impactful to me. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit
no
with me
problem.
today.
Happy that I could spend the time with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Well, guys, that is the show. But before we leave, I've been eyeing this picture. It's the biggest picture in here. Mark, tell me why this picture?
Well, I think it embodies everything that we talked about here today. This is Muhammad Ali in reflection, by himself, considering everything that has to do. I think what he was doing was considering everything that he has to do to continue being the champion that he was. And I feel like there's the faith aspect of this, because it could be that he's in prayer and reflecting on, you know, on what God would have him do here, and his God would have him do here. But then also, you know, building the confidence that he needs to kind of move forward. And, you know, I spend a lot of times, I do this in my house, and this, I can really relate to this, you know, because I'm sitting in my living room by myself and just reflecting on where I came from and how blessed and fortunate I am to be in the circumstance that I am, and the responsibility that I have to have some other folks, you know, travel that path and be in a position to where they can, you know, have, you know, similar success, and they can make an impact, and that others can, and that we can eliminate all of these generational disparities that exist with our people. So I think all that's what I would think about that picture.
Wow. Yeah, that definitely resonates with the interview we had today.